Welcome to Cut the Crop, keeping you in the know about everything you grow. Researchers, growers and other interesting folk delivering insights and information on topics ranging from agronomy to profitability. Brought to you by the Foundation for Arable Research.
Hello and welcome. My name's Alison Stewart and I'm your host of Cut the Crop. And today we've got two guests from FAR. We've got our Senior Field Officer, Ben Harvey, and our Technology Manager?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Chris Smith. So welcome, Chris and Ben.
Thanks Alison.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about a new digital tool that's being developed called Aphid Chat. And hopefully it's going to be available to growers by the end or ahead of this growing season.
Yes, it should be available by April.
Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of a sort of double act. We're going to start off with Chris, and we're going to just sort of talk about high level, what is Aphid Chat and how does it differ from all of the other aphid monitoring tools that are out there?
Yeah, thanks, Alison. Yeah, so it's got two dimensions to it, really. It's got like the live data, which will be sort of from Ben's report for that week, and it'll sort of have the aphid numbers in there, and it'll also sort of have the sort of conditions, weather conditions, and looking at all those and how they affect the numbers, and sort of so it'll be like the amount of wingless aphids there are. It'll be what the growers have to put in, what crop growth stage they're at, where they used insecticide on the seed, and then from that it can work out what the risks are, and then it taps into the Hawk Plus sort of weather system to look at what the weather conditions are, and then gives the growers a sort of estimation of what the risks are going to be, whether it's a low risk, medium risk, they have to keep on monitoring, or whether it's a high risk, they need to sort of take look at all their options, what they need to do next. So that's kind of the moving part of it. So that's the live data. And then there's more static data in the background. So then we'll have sort of considerations to take on board, sort of how the weather affects the aphids, what aphid numbers are, what the beneficials are, what the beneficials look like. So there'll be sort of a gallery of different growth stages of the beneficials. So growers can look at those, work out, and then also they can look at cultural controls, sort of rotations, etc., different cultivars, and also then look at lastly sort of chemical options, whether sort of insect friendly. And then below that as well, we have things on how you can actually look at your own, how you can actually do some sort of trapping yourself and look at your aphid numbers. So it's a real sort of lot of background information. It's meant basically going to be a one-stop shop for everything to do with aphids. And then below that, there'll be archived sort of data from far previous trials and things like that. So they can just go to this point and then they can look at what's happening now. And if they've got time or if they want to, they can look at further details of what's behind, what's going on in the background and how to make decisions, etc. So it's more of an information tool with a sturdy sort of archive of data behind it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, growers have been monitoring aphids for many years.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's never been everything pulled together into a platform that they can access.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the challenge. There's been the data's been there, but then you want to look at sort of historic data or find some background information. It's been a case of searching it. So the whole thing is going to be an information hub where everything to do with, this is going to be starting off with cereals. So cereal aphids, where everything can be found and what the implications are and what your risks are. So it's exciting. It's really good.
So what was the driver for it? I mean, and why is it FAR and Hort Plus coming together to do this?
The driver for it was just trying to keep things up to speed and just trying to find, people have been sort of saying they can't find information on different places. They want everything in one place. And we're going to try and just bring what Ben's been doing together with what we already want with this new platform, just to try and bring it into the 21st, well, not bring it to the 20, sort of bring it up to date so it's all on your phone, because everything people do these days is on the phone or on the website, so they can actually look at it instantly rather than having to refer to a paper copy of something. So it's a case of just drawing all these different sort of sources of information into one place.
And we'd been partnering with Hort Plus over the weather platform, so it made sense that this was something that we would be doing with them.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's bringing in all their weather data information as well. And we've got specific sites that people, so growers can put in their location, what the growth stage of the crop is, etc. And they can draw on that all information. So we've been working also with a few sort of independent sort of science people. We've been working with Paul Horn, Dave Toulon, and also with Nicole Anderson from Oregon University, just to make sure they're happy and they think it's all robust what we're doing. So it's been quite a big project, and we've been driving it with sort of Cody and sort of Mike from Hawk Plus as well. So been pretty full on, but it's been really interesting.
Excellent. Okay, so let's just move over to Ben and start talking about what Ben's been doing. So why is it important to monitor aphid numbers?
Well, what we're trying to do here is this program of work sits inside A Lighter Touch, which is endeavouring to give growers the tools to reduce the inputs that they're putting onto their crops. And we felt that there were too many growers who were just using a calendar spraying system for insecticides. And not only was that perhaps more expensive than it should have been, it's also not good for the biodiversity of especially the beneficial insects that are there. So it's important to have that information so that growers can actually look at it and make a decision. Do I need to spray an insecticide right now? Can I wait? Or should I perhaps not spray at all this season? And that can happen as well. So this is what's underlying it. This is the science underlying it, is saying to growers, hey, just have a think before you spray and maybe use this data. And we want to get it in front of them in such an easy way, a way for them that is easy to use so that they can make those decisions without it being a pain point, without just saying, oh, it's too hard. Insecticides are cheap. I'm going over to put in fungicide on anyway. I'll just throw some in.
Yeah.
We'd like to reduce that sort of thinking if we could.
Yeah, and that's the key thing because, I know that FAR did lots of work on IPM programs back in the 90s, but actually adoption by the growers was relatively low because it was just too complex and they just didn't have, for example, a platform that they could easily access that took them through step by step what needed to be done. And so hopefully by providing something that is a one-stop shop that we'll actually get more adoption and uptake. But I mean, obviously, it's not just the aphids, it's the beneficials. And so the two together, you have to understand what your aphid's doing. You have to understand how, what the beneficials are doing. And then you need to understand the thresholds where the beneficials can have a negative impact on the aphids. There's a lot of work sitting in behind that.
Yeah, and I don't think we fully know all of the science behind we don't exactly know what that threshold is yet. We've got some good ideas, but we want to present the data to growers in a way that they can make their own decisions. Yeah. We won't be saying to them, don't spray or do spray. Yeah. That's not what we want to do.
So it's not a decision support tool then, is it?
Well, it is. Or is it? But they still have to make the decision themselves. Yeah. So,
and actually, and you mentioned A Lighter Touch, and for those listeners who don't know what A Lighter Touch is, it's a big pan-sector program where all the plant sectors have got together and we're looking at ways of being able to sort of introduce a more agroecological way of managing pests and diseases. And we talk a lot about, decision support tools, but the reality is the decision really always has to be made by the grower. I mean, a platform can't make the decision for you. It can only give you the information for you to decide what you want to do.
Yeah, and just on that same topic, for a number of years, we have been publishing aphid numbers in quite a few locations in Crop Action and online. And we did have some anecdotal evidence that growers were using that as a tool, which is fantastic. But we wanted to refine it because we didn't want them to look at it and say, aphid numbers are high, I'm spraying, aphid numbers are low. There's more that we can tell them and more that they can get out of that. And that's what Aphid Chat is all about. It's about getting everything together so that they actually come up with a recommendation or we've got a traffic light system like green, it's fine. There's no aphids around you. You really don't need to be spraying. And then red for, yes, you should definitely consider spraying. And orange will be, what we're saying is actually go and have a look yourself.
Well, I was going to ask, we are encouraging growers to actually do some of the monitoring themselves rather than just relying on the monitoring that's coming through.
And that's always the best thing is knowing what's going on in your crop. And maybe there'll be some growers who still don't do that, but at least they've got more tools than they had before with Aphid Chat. And also the tools are right there. The information is right there about how to go and look yourself and what to do and what you're looking at and what you're looking for. So perhaps we will get more engagement this way too, and that's our hope.
Is there a stage where they would be able to put their data into the system?
So yes, the risk is quite dependent on the growth stage of the crop, and so that's probably the key thing. Well, first of all, they'll put in their location, which is or they'll choose the location, the monitoring location, which is closest to them, and then they'll, as Chris already said, they're going to say whether or not they used treated seed, insecticide treated seed, and finally they'll put the growth stage of their crop, because we know that there's a key risk period in between growth stage 21 and about growth stage 31, 32. And if they're in that period, that's where BYDV, which is the virus that aphids carry, that is where you'll get the greatest yield penalty from an infection by that virus. So if the grower is putting in that information and they're outside of that risk period in terms of the growth stage, then that gives them a good, that'll pop up in the tool that they're okay. They don't need to be spraying. Their risk is low.
Yeah.
But we don't yet have any way for them to put in aphid numbers, and I don't necessarily know that would be a lot of use at this point. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how will a grower know when they should start looking at Aphid Chat?
So that's when they should start looking. If they've got a crop in the ground,
literally,
then,
okay,
yeah, then they can use it.
Yeah.
I think that's probably it'll certainly have enough functionality for them to be.
Yeah, so we're not putting out notifications. Check Aphid Chat.
No, we thought about it though. There's possibly in future years the talk was, what if we made it an app and it actually could send push notifications to the growers? Yeah, like in that region. Hey, you got to we've seen an increased risk, because I'll be also doing reporting inside of Aphid Chat for each region. Because sometimes I will go in, sometimes the numbers will be low on the traps, the monitoring, and I did that this year, and I had to just put it out in Far Weekly and in Crop Action that we had noticed there was, it had gotten warmer. I was starting to find some wingless aphids in the crop itself. I talked to some growers and they had seen some, and so we actually put out a notification, even though the graphs were still showing that aphid numbers were low. So that's an extra thing that Aphid Chat can do. It'll have that report there, and I can just manually push it up from green to orange.
Okay.
Yeah. So that'll give them a thing, and so that's something that we could look at in the future, is actually making either a mailing list, but through text or through an app. But we haven't got to that stage this season.
No, but baby steps, step one.
But we'd love to be able to do that.
Yeah. So I mean, you can just imagine as this plays out, we should be able to more effectively use insecticides so that you're only putting them on when you need to put them on, and they're going to be the most effective. And that's really, I guess, where we want to get to. I mean, that's best practice for a grower, that you're not wasting money putting insecticides on when you don't need to, and it builds resilience because it means that you're helping to manage resistance building up as well. So coming back to Aphid Chat, we've talked about it. Sounds wonderful, but where is it? When's it going to be available?
So it's going to be you can access it through the FAR website. It's going to be available, like I was saying earlier, it's probably coming out for this year, so it'll be out for April. It'll be in its infancy form. It won't have all the functionality, but it'll have the sort of the risk assessments. And then as we're going to keep on developing it. So you'll get all the graphs on there with the weather and the actual sort of numbers, sort of aphid numbers versus beneficial numbers and that sort of stuff. We'll be bringing that in. And like Ben was saying, potentially you could have notifications up there, like you do on your phone when you've got something, just to let you know there's something in your area. So it's a moving target at the moment, but we just want to get it out there and get some feedback from the growers. So really want to hear how if people do use it, what they like, what they don't like, how we can improve it, because it's going to be a moving target. We've got to keep this thing going and keep it sort of developing and evolving.
I mean, are we going to be doing any sort of extension work? I mean, or is it so intuitive that people can just go on and start using it? They don't need to learn how to use it?
We're hoping it should be intuitive, but as we're doing workshops and things, there's all possibilities of us actually sort of mentioning it. I can be doing something on, or Ben or Joe, we can be talking about it and just telling growers more about it if they've got questions about it, etc. Well, to see what the feedback is from the growers, if they're finding it easy, then there's no need. But if people are having issues with it or don't understand how to put their data in there, it's quite self-explanatory. For what we've got already, it's like there'll be little question marks or exclamation marks. They can click on that and it'll give them a bit of information of why we need this detail on growth stages. If they don't know how to growth stage their crop, it'll be sort of information. Then you can go back and see what different growth stages, what they look like, so they can actually determine they've got their growth stages accurately sort of recorded, etc.
Yeah. And so, I mean, presumably, Ben, you're going to just be doing more research and it's feeding into improving the Aphid Chat. This is like a continuous improvement type of thing.
Myself and others, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one assumes that if the growers really liked it and think it has real value, that we might look at doing it for other insect pests.
Absolutely, and other crops, because this is predominantly cereals. So yeah, absolutely, we can look at other pests and even diseases. We're actually looking, if the template works, we're looking at doing a sort of nutrient chat.
Okay,
so
right. Have we got this trademarked? Have we?
I know we should do.
Actually,
yeah.
Actually, we should.
We should, yeah. So looking at all the different aspects, like say full armyworm chat, or sort of anything like that. Just anything once we get it and find it's working, it's popular and it's easy for people to use, and it's a one-stop shop for whatever that subject is. So everything on that subject is in that one place, so people can find everything out. We think it's got real legs.
Yeah, and I think we should acknowledge the work that Cody and Mike have done at Hort Plus for making it user-friendly. They've come at this from a really good design point of view, where they've made sort of that intuitive use of it and the layout really easy to follow for a user. That's been at the forefront of their minds, and what they've come up with we think is a very good product, and I think it will be something that people find very easy to use, and I think as an organisation, FAR will probably want to try to use it as a template.
Have they done it? Have they got a format that they had used somewhere else, or is this brand new for them?
Not that I know of.
No, it's pretty new. I think they've had aspects in other bits and pieces of their work. They've drawn them all together. And we've also got like a desktop version, and if people are looking at it on their phone, there'll be a phone-friendly version as well. So it won't be a case of having to zoom in or zoom out, etc. It'll all be fitting nicely on the phone, because most of the time people will be out in the field when they want to have a look and see what's going on. If they see an aphid or a beneficial, they want to be able to check it, etc.
Absolutely. Yeah. That phone is just the way to communicate.
Totally. Yeah.
Unfortunately, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So any other comments that you'd like to make?
No, I don't think so. I hope that people engage with it, and absolutely please get in touch with us at FAR if you've got any suggestions about it.
Yeah. Key thing.
So I'll just reiterate that. Yeah, we need the feedback to improve it and keep it moving and keep it developing. So if people have got suggestions, don't hesitate to get in touch.
Oh, and one other thing, we are still looking for some interested growers in the North Island who grow cereals in some of those cereal regions. I think we have one, maybe two, but we don't have quite as many monitoring sites in the North Island as we'd like to. So if anyone's keen for that, give us a bell.
Actually, what does a monitoring site look like?
It has 3 to 4 sticky traps in a cereal crop in a paddock, and sort of in the four corners, and then every 1 to 2 weeks, depending on what time of year it is, it's if growers were going to do it, they'd probably wrap them up and courier them back to FAR for us to analyse.
Yeah. Okay, so if there's any listeners there in the North Island and you've got cereal crops and you want to be one of the monitoring sites, contact Ben. Yeah.
Yep. And that's, the benefit of that is it's some extra work, but you get the data for your region will be your data, so that you can
exactly.
have that excellent data to know when you should be spraying.
Excellent. Great. Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you very much, Chris. And thank you very much, listeners. Have a great day on the farm.
Thanks for tuning in to Cut the Crop, presented to you by FAR. If you'd like to know more about any of the topics discussed or have any suggestions for future topics, go to www.cutthecrop.co.nz.